with all this achieving accuracy beyond Apple, these are something that we are hearing. But all this is because of the talent, again. Drawing to the talent who are working in these companies on day one, maybe they have smaller teams. But the challenge lies when they start scaling, when they start growing, and that's where they evolve or emerge as a GCC, and of course domestic homegrown GCC, or somebody like how Jay sir was mentioning, the startups, they want to come to India and they want to establish their centers here. So this again, when they're scaling the talent pipeline, the kind of talent that they seek on day 2, day 3, day 4 versus day 0 or day 1 is different, because mostly they are borrowed from the close knitted network like how we did it, and versus something where in the growth stage they have different challenges with respect to the inflow of the talent. These are something that where we might have to segment SOP based talent versus the original or the creative works. Maybe a curriculum should evolve in these directions. So this is something that again where 60 is also focusing on, like classifying the the workforce, and then based on that transition can happen. And I know we are working on moving the companies from Hyderabad to tier 2, tier 3 and tier 4. Maybe this kind of SOP based work can first prevail in the tier 2 or tier 3 towns where the employees and the talent is cost effective, and these training initiatives can translate to these places through the initiatives. So on this note, Pragati, so how do you think, maybe the next 5 years we are seeing this kind of emerging trend, both established GCCs or the international to domestic, and the startups now emerging as their own, GCCs. So what kind of measures? We know that YISU is coming in India, Skill University. We have hundreds of or thousands of undergrad institutions. In India alone, 62,000 as a whole registered universities and colleges function. So with respect to Telangana and maybe outside at a scale of India, what kind of initiatives do you think would help the government as well as the industry, academia work more progressively on the talent scope?
Yeah, there is frankly quite a lot we could do. Quite a lot that would place us in a unique position within India. Firstly, we have to realize that today we are not the only show in town. When a global major is looking at where do I go, we lost a project from Google to Uruguay of all places. Today we have an office of 500 people sitting in Uruguay. None of us ever looked at Uruguay as a competitor. Today, when I talk to my business leaders in AT&T, I have to compete with Central European countries. I have to compete with Malaysia, which is actually saying every dollar that you spend on skilling Malaysians on any technology, government of Malaysia will refund 100%. Now we're competing. It's not a given that these GCCs will say, okay, it's getting tight in the US, let's go to India. It's not a given anymore. Now, even within India, we're competing. Now, people default go to other places as well. The first thing we should need to do is we need to move our government initiatives from activity-based to outcome-based. We're doing this, we're running channels, we're doing a TSAT, we're doing tasks, we're doing all of this. Somebody mentioned, Kadagar mentioned a little while earlier that he's training 10,000 people. Frankly, doesn't matter. We can train 10 lakh people. It doesn't matter. What we need is that meeting our need. Where do GCCs go to get their data on talent availability? Can we address that and look at it from the other side of the pipe? They'll go to Talent Neuron, and in Talent Neuron, much as it might offend all of us here, we're all sitting in Hyderabad, and I'm pretty sure we're proud of being Hyderabadis. But we get beaten black and blue on literally every emerging skill set by the likes of Bangalore, even Chennai, Pune as well. Now, what rocket science will it take for us to realize that some CEO sitting in US or in Western Europe or in Japan or Korea or wherever, he's not coming and talking to me or Srikanth, what is the availability of talent in Hyderabad? The guy is looking at Talent Neuron and saying, where do I take my shop? Can we say that in the next 5 years, on 8 to 10 skills per industry, we will make initiatives that get us to first place in India, in the top 3 places or 4 places in the world? Is that the kind of things that we should be aiming for? Second piece of it, what is everybody doing and we are competing? Okay, we'll give you these discount, we'll give you a power discount, we'll give you land discount, we'll attract the company. I don't think people are going to come for that. Those days are over. They have a role to play. I'm not underplaying that. Every dollar counts. But the thing that's going to bring people to Hyderabad increasingly is going to be talent. Nobody realized that Hyderabad had silently, quietly become a cybersecurity hub. Did any of us realize that in just one company, take Wells Fargo for example, sorry for taking names, but just to illustrate the point, there are 3,900 people working on cybersecurity in one company in this city. And if you look at the scale of the talent pool, if we had the talent, that would be 39,000. Right? So we're good, but we need to get to that kind of level. The second piece of it that we should be doing, and we could be looking at, is making life easier for the employers. It takes 3 months on average, and I'm not joking here, 3 months to get a background verification done for an employee. I've got a job, I've got a candidate, I've bent my back, taken time of very valuable resources, put people through the interview process. It's taking us 3 months to get background verification. Can we have a government initiative that says, India में लगता होगा 3 महीना, Hyderabad में आपको लगेगा 2 हफ्ता? Can we do that? Can we say that we will get this done for you at a speed that is not done anywhere else in India? Can we do that? It's very easy. All it needs is for the government to link its colleges, its 10th class, its 12th class, its police stations. You can do it digitally in double quick time. And if we do that, and no other state in India has done that, it gives you a competitive edge. We're talking about outcomes. Okay. Now this third thing, we have the government initiatives. For whatever reason, maybe we live in parallel universes, we very seldom have a public-private partnership happening when it comes to skilling. Certain initiatives are now being done. Obviously, the first session addressed some of that. But I'm thinking that we need to go many, many steps beyond. We need to be like an Israel. What Israel does for its technology industry is what we should be emulating here, where we have corporate universities and the government plays the part of a facilitator. Running, for example, a skills portal. No state government in India has created a skills portal. Nothing stops us from being the first to create that. What does the skills portal do? It collects all the jobs posted by companies in its geography, has one place with analytics showing which skills are laying off, which skills are getting close to sunset, which are the emerging skill sets, what are the certifications, who is offering that, the hiring trends, which are the companies which are doing, and offering links to the career sites of these things. It's not difficult to do. It's just that nobody's done it. If you do this in Telangana, you will have a significant competitive advantage over every other state. That could also be used, among other things, for reskilling, because when we talk about skilling, we are all the time focused about skilling kids out of college and making them industry ready. Well, we have a whole lot of people, 500,000 people in this city, whose current skill sets are close to sunset. We didn't have that problem 15 years ago. 15 years ago, everybody was only coming into the workforce. Today, you're having thousands of people who either need to be reskilled or need to be retired. Those are harsh choices. So if you could have a portal saying these are the people, these are the skill sets, this is the talent pool, people can sign up, people can be pointed to things. It has the analytics of jobs, which companies, which jobs, which skill sets. People can go there, get the analytics, decide this is where I'm going. It also shows what is the average salary for certain skill sets and certain jobs at different levels. So I as a student can go in there, navigate and say, this seems to be the path I should aim for, and this gives me the links to training resources, this gives me the links to career sites. I think we should be aiming for something like that. That would be new.
It's more like a new version or the 21st century employment exchange, right?
Don't do it in the government sector, it'll fail. I'll tell you, 24 years in government, 24 years in the government, and I've learned one thing, and that is to have a pretty healthy disrespect for what we can do. When government takes charge of delivery, the government's job is to act as a facilitator. When it does that, governments have been phenomenally effective. When the government tries to do the work itself, it is phenomenally ineffective. So I think the role of the government should be very clear. Our problem in Telangana has been that the government has tried to do stuff. The government needed to be the facilitator and have people who are competent in the private industry actually do this stuff. Yes, questions.
It's a big opportunity for the startups and of course the existing players.
So Srikanth, sorry, I didn't mean to cut. I want to add, actually T-Hub is a PPP. And T-Hub, where the government actually contributed towards the infrastructure, the capex, they stayed away completely from operations. And that has actually helped us, do everything on our own. So it's, there can be many more. I'm not saying we are hugely successful, but we are self-reliant. We don't depend on grants. We are a not-for-profit entity. We generate our own revenues. We run reasonably successfully, profitably. So I think you're absolutely right.
I was actually saying that we needed to do more government initiatives the T-Hub way and not the task way. So just to paraphrase.
Appreciate that. That's good actually. See, these are the insights which should translate rather than just hear and leave. I think we need to translate this because T-Hub is one classic example and we are seeing the results 10 years now, 10th year. I know the day one of T-Hub, I myself was criticizing because I was traveling to Stanford and Bay Area, trying to, of course, human comparisons, right? We're drawing the comparisons between there to here. So where the taxonomy or the terms are the same on the paper, whereas when things in action are different. But today, I think it's a different ecosystem altogether. And with Rich and other, we work with them now, and we can see that difference. So public-private partnerships are, I think, going to play a big role in this kind of a skill and talent creation. And To your point, so talent connectivity, how it can be improved and how the efficacy of talent connectivity to the industry, which saves the mean time, cost and the mean team efforts to onboard resources, is something that we heard from Pragati Kumar here. So when it comes to talent readiness, that is the other side of the coin, we are seeing, the reports from Coursera and, Talent Neuron, says why the global companies either, who are already existing here are looking to migrate to some other part of the world, to somebody who is considering a global GCC, outside there, to offshore and looking for other alternatives within India as well as outside India. How do we address this talent readiness issues, ma'am, with respect to the emerging technologies and skills?
Sure. So, since we're talking about job readiness, talent readiness, skilling, the 2 points I want to make. One, where does this happen? Where does job skilling happen? Where does skilling happen? Where does job readiness happen? Does it happen in colleges? Does it happen at home? Does it happen because the government said so? Does it happen in the office? So that's a question. And who is responsible? Is the government responsible? Is the college responsible, university? Or is the parents, or is the student himself or herself? So I think those boundaries are blurring right now because we are seeing more and more of partnerships that are coming into play. And you see, while the government could mandate or start something, we can see, at least in Telangana, that there are more partnerships between companies and the government and consortiums being formed. While that is helping, what I feel is that the companies probably can do a little bit more for skilling in their own companies. There is a robust L&D department, right? But are you looking into the future? Are you delivering, learning and development for your current needs, or are you developing for the future? I can talk again about DBS as we aim to become a fully digitalized company, a bank. What we do is we have a AI ML platform. I as an employee can go and say that these are my skills. And I also want to say in 2 years, I want to get into the next role. So that is my aspiration. So what the system does is, as and when, one, it will tell me because this is your skill and for the role that you want, X number of skills are required and this is the gap. It will throw me the learning that I need to do on a periodical basis. And every time there is a job that is posted within the company saying, which is my aspirational role or close to my aspirational role, it will give me a nudge saying that, are you ready for this role? You still need to complete 2 more learning programs. Or we also have something called, shadowing. Be my guest is what we call it. You complete your 4 hours or 8 hours of shadowing the person who is actually doing the job. So these are nudges that we created within the system to make sure that employees also feel responsible for their own skilling needs. I think we need to deliver, as companies, we need to deliver for skilling with an eye on the future. That is a hard look that most companies seem to take. Are we doing it with a long-term perspective, or are we doing it with a short-term perspective? Because what we do directly translates to how our employees are skilled. So that's one thing.
So we can understand how you are giving opportunity for your existing workforce to upskill and reskill themselves within internally while they are actually engaged in their projects, which is again part of their paid work time, and that they can really, and giving that kind of an infrastructure. So even Atlassian, this is from one of the case studies along with that. They insist 20% of the bandwidth, the paid bandwidth, goes into the problem solving. Anything new they can pick, their products, Jira and the other products. It doesn't matter, if they are working in that project or not. If they see any gap or anything that they want to work, and 20% of the bandwidth is something that they can allocate for such kind of a problem solving, and there the tech stack or the business, the management and the other frameworks that they learn could be totally, away or different from what they do in their day-to-day jobs. So these are something, I think, the best practices that can translate to every GCCs. Those are already doing it fine, but I think this is something good point. So now I think the cultural issue is one thing that I always touch upon, and then we'll take questions from the audience. And these questions can come from the audience as well. So when it comes to career, when it comes to, especially in the Telugu speaking community, in the Telugu states, in South, to be more precise, it is all about engineer or a doctor and then a fixed career path, right? So then from there to US or UK, there's again order of preference, US, UK, Australia, and then any other countries. So there is a SOP there, technically. Okay, so maybe 20%, 30% parents now, with the millennial parents, maybe taking a bit.
I just read in the paper 1 week back that there are no matches available for people who have settled in the US. Marriage proposals, so it keeps changing.
That's maybe because of Trump's new policies.
It gets harder now to get the visa.
Every time the media gets active with respect to the recession there, so things change. So it's seasonal. But ultimately things translate when it comes to the cultural aspect. This is from the families with the society. We have always discussed about skill, talent, career, from industry, from academia, blaming government or academia gaps and all. There is one more factor, because we have researched for almost a decade now in that space, especially in India. If you go to North India, Sarkari Naukri, if everything fails, then after 32 years or 35 years, right, they will choose the private industry, or it is always a second option, right? So it's like, it's always a dating mode, not in the marriage mode, okay, when it comes to the careers and all. So that's where, the mindset that is driving people into the careers. So you just read this, you pass this exam or this degree, that's it, you're settled for life. That one statement coming from 10th grade to maybe until they're undergrad, do you think that is a cultural barrier or a mindset barrier for them to reskill and upskill? Because they feel that maybe that once I get certified on this, once I get into this company, I think I'm done and dusted for the rest of my life. So did you face such kind of friction with talent, reskilling, upskilling with the existing workforce, with the experience, 5 to 10 years workforce? Though you provide a lot of resources for them, this could be from the your company or as a whole, from your experience. Are there such kind of cultural issues preventing the talent upskilling and reskilling? How do we address such things? These inputs can flow from the audience as well.
So I would like to contribute to this. I think I'm also a millennial, okay, and at that point of time, when I was doing my graduation, I was guided by my parents to do only engineering. So my brother did engineering and I was asked to do engineering. I said no. So I was a little stubborn. So I took a graduation. Again, my dad guided me to do BCA because there's computers in that. In that BCA, there's one subject called management. That is what I really liked. And then I moved to MBA and did HR. But I see mostly in recruitment especially, there's so many engineering graduates who come back to recruitment as a career, but they don't like recruitment because they didn't get a job in engineering. They fail both in terms of education as well as career, and they don't give their best in recruitment as well. I think things are changing now because I think there's a lot of information available for the kids and they're choosing that. But I think during the interviews, instead of just rejecting, we as HR have a lot of opportunity to guide candidates on what best they need to choose. I think if we can guide that, and also parents have to take a lot of responsibility on pursuing their career. My daughter is in 9th grade now. I keep telling her, you do what you like. You need to enjoy what you're doing. So, and I think there's so many platforms and L&D tools which have come up where there's so many mentors available. So we've also developed one very recently where the working professionals can also mentor the students in terms of what career path they need to choose based on their passion as well as education background. Thank you.
What's the name of your platform?
Our platform's name is Upadi. It's a job portal. I think whatever you spoke, Pragati Garu, I think we are working on all those initiatives as well. Thank you. I'm Kalpana, by the way.
Thank you for those inputs, and we'll also explore the opportunity to work with Upadi teams.
First of all, let me start with an observation on the podium. I think if not very first time, rarely we see the CII in a very vibrant color than the blue. I don't know what made you to change this color. It's kind of a new color today, but I'm feeling some change is going to happen now.
Change is visible now.
Yeah, the change is visible now, going forward. And practically, yes, you mentioned about whenever you go to some place, there are abundant opportunities and abundant people looking for opportunities. So there is a catch here. If you look at it, when we conduct an interviews in our own industry, whoever comes to an interview, everybody said, I'm a jobless. That's the first thing, emotional putting things towards an employer basically. But if you look at it today's scenario, none of them, either 99% I see, they're all occupied. They would have not formally employed, but they are occupied. The opportunities are like that. So the occupation, they don't treat it as an employment. They feel that I'm unemployed. You just ask a well-paid person today in the society, they said I'm unemployed. They're ready to say. And another one is they always say I'm the poor guy. So this is the two things, what happening is to putting things forward in a symptomatic and sympathetic way. Thereby they get being chosen. So that is the reason you might getting a lot of people coming forward and saying that we don't have jobs. Second thing is, when you look for any kind of an employment requirements, there are many people who are already employed. They also come and join for the new job. They always look for a change. The change only gives them the betterment. That's the feeling. The third thing is, when you talk about the talent, after the 20 years of life, the 4 years engineering or medicine, whatever it is, that 4 year decides your entire career life. That needs to be changed. That 4 years can be any time of your life. You can stop somewhere and take a pause of the 4 years and restart your life. That culture has to be brought in. Once you get into some engineering, some place, something, that should not be the end of the life. That is the part you need to look at it. And thirdly, Srikanth said the modern employment exchange. You said that it should be by the private. So private, lot of forums are already available, like LinkedIn or whatever you're talking about. Government brings in authenticity. If the government comes in and be the part of that particular ecosystem, that believed to be authentic. When it comes to private, however analytics you use, however the kind of thing you use, it is always a suspect manner. So that government intervention is always required. So you should have a platform with the government is the baseline, the corporates can contribute to it. And third thing is, when it comes to talent enhancement, I'll tell you an example. I think in 90s, L&T is the first company in the corporate world. They've just adopted SAP at the large level, entire their industry. At the end of the 3 years program, the 40% employees were migrated to US. They thought of the improvement to the industry, the 40% attrition happened. So that's when they gone back to some other kind of a system to retain their employees. That was always happens. That also to be looked into. Who has to skill them? Who will pay for it? Who will get benefited out of it?
So one thing I agree with, sir, is this business about learning, having a start and a stop, and then trying to make a living on that for a lifetime. That's definitely not going to work in today's world. First thing. The second thing is, when we try to tell people that, look, we are shutting down this project or this particular team, we are shutting this down, the window of opportunity is from now for the next 18 months. And these are the opportunities where we are hiring, and this is what you need to do to reskill. You'll be amazed to know that the number of people actually signing up and actually taking those courses and actually completing the reskilling within the company, paid for by the company, where they get service credit, they get continuation in job, they get continuation in salary, everything, has been abysmal. My personal experience. Okay, why is it so poor? I'll give you an example. If you tell a person who's been doing professional services, for example, PeopleSoft implementations, I remember telling a team and saying, this is going down the tube, there is no money in this, there is no future in this, you need to change. Why don't you apply for this? And I sat the whole team down and I said, you guys are billing 40%, this is not sustainable. It was 60 last year, it's 40 this year. It's a question of time before this gets wound down. I can offer you A, B, C within the company, paid for by the company. You have your salary, you have your job, you have paid training, you have paid certification, you have continued career. Everybody said, great idea, but then signing up and doing it as voluntary, nobody did it. When I asked those people why, the common answer was, it's easy to say, start afresh, start a new line afresh. I have 15 years PeopleSoft implementation skills. Today I'm a very senior resource. I start somewhere else, I'll be a beginner in a new thing. My answer to that was, okay, so are you expecting to serve the next 25 years, assuming you have 25 years more to work, your working age? You expect PeopleSoft implementations to feed you for the next 25 years? Is that realistic? He says no. Then is it realistic that you will do a reskilling 10 years later and be more effective at that? Is that a realistic expectation? No. So why don't you do it now? And the answer is, but again I'll become a fresher. So I think we got a mindset. So whenever we have done this kind of reskilling midway, there is a tremendous resistance. It's a mindset issue. What Mamta just spoke of, who is responsible, who takes things, where is training happening? Actually training is happening from here to here, between here. And the answer to that is what you have said yourself, is that training has to be a continuous lifetime pursuit. So it is continuous training. So you're upskilling, continuously learning, and continuous learning does have takers.
I just add one sentence to it again. There's a mindset, what you said rightly. The mindset says the experienced guys always paid more, the freshers paid less. Is that right? In that case, 15 years experience something else, 15 years of experience in some field, pay them more than a 1 year experience in new thing, maybe pay them less. So they always like, like to say that I'm 15 years or 20 years experience in so and so, so and so. Then 1 year experience in so latest things or whatever. Probably that mindset needs a kind of work on it basically.
This is becoming more generic, but with respect to IT, since it is more to do with IT skilling here today with the panel, I know in cognizance of time we'll quickly conclude. Relevant experience is something that comes into picture here, 10, 15, 20 years of experience. Today when it comes to AI and ML, this is what I tell, like somebody with 15 years of age versus 15 years of professional age, if they can really deliver the job, that I've seen people who are like in their teens and early 20s train people in 40s and 50s. Because the relevant experience is what the industry pays for. Again, this is not for the SOP based efforts. That's where your experience will add and your common sense at work and people management skills and all those things, the soft skills will play. But when it comes to the emerging technology space, primarily reskilling and upskilling has to do more with the relevancy of the delivery rather than their actual professional age technically. So it doesn't matter even if somebody is just like, in the college. Nowadays we have seen youngsters getting paid like 1.5 crore. Again, translating to the numbers, but which I hate to discuss. But that's where, relevant experience with the emerging technologies is something that is different compared to the overall job spectrum and in general. So it's a subjective
I just want to add, when we had the Y2K, lakhs of people rode the wave. So today, if we are not able to help youth identify the curves, right, and help them stay ahead of the curves, I think there will be a lot that will be left behind. Just to add just one last point, there are about 12 million or 13 million graduates that come out within India, and probably a million from here as well. And we know the statistics, only 60% are unemployable. And one of the reports I was reading is 40% of the youth between 20 and 24 are unemployed. So I think there are a lot of HR professionals here. One mindset change, at least I am personally looking forward to, is how do you create that entrepreneurial mindset? There was a lot of discussion about job roles, SOP-based job roles, and all of that. But I urge this audience to also look at, how do you build that entrepreneurial mindset, some amount of risk-taking ability, and that would actually solve some of the other challenges, around employment. Create job creators and job seekers.
Sujit, maybe you can add a little bit information about the initiatives of T-Hub with corporates. Sure. And GCC specifically.
Yeah. Thank you. I know you have already sounded time. So every week we have at least 1 to 2 GCCs walking in to T-Hub. And these GCCs we have categorized over the last 1.5 to 2 years, because the volumes are such, into 3 categories. One, that are on exploratory mode, trying to figure out if Hyderabad is the right place, do they have right talent and right infrastructure, etc. Second is those that have already landed, that want to expand, because they are new, they have 100 people, they have aspirations to become 2,000, 3,000. That's the second ones that we have met. The third one are the biggies who have been here. They want to transform from being back offices to actually innovation hubs for their global offices. And this is the expectation from their global office, saying that you are right in India, right in center of tech centers, why are you not transforming us, globally? So we have built, some of the programs for GCCs to engage. In fact, that's what I was saying. When we are working with
reverse pitching.
No, not just reverse pitching. Pitching is only one tactical point, so where you engage. If some GCC comes in that I want to solve this problem, do you have a startup? So, of course, when you say reverse pitching, pitching for the city, pitching for the capabilities, pitching for talent, yes, we do. But that will be only one part. In fact, as I rightly said, if you don't deliver outcomes, nobody is going to stay. They'll come for probably all these nice things that we are seeing, but will they stay? So we have programs, we have frameworks that we engage with these GCCs to deliver outcomes. The delivering of outcomes is, if you talk in business terms, KPIs. What are the, business KPIs? If somebody from, say, financial industry is engaged, what kind of KPIs are they looking at? What does transformation means from a headquarter perspective? Somebody sitting in the US want some digital transformation we were talking about, right? Today for the CEOs, and again I'm coming top down, the issue is time to market. If they want to bring out a product or a platform or a solution, if it takes 4 years, 3 years, 2 years, how can through innovation, through new technology, new talent, how can I cut it down by say 50%? So, and that drives the whole agenda. how can I disrupt the market? How can I stay ahead of my competition? In fact, I quote Ramesh Kaja, who is saying, in the morning we are competing, in the evening, they are friends. But in the morning when they compete, they are hard competition. So how can they bring in technology? So identifying new solutions and talent is going to be one thing they will be continuously looking for, which is what we are trying to showcase. And when they engage with us, deliver as well. So we run programs, strategic engagements with some of these corporates. In fact, we are working with entities like Medtronic, Panasonic, across the globe. Some are initial stage, some are fairly in an advanced stage. So they are engaging with us because they are engaging with the startup ecosystem. They want to find solutions for their problems that they are not able to solve globally. So that's the opportunity we have. Thanks for asking the question.
Great, yeah. So,
can I take only 2 minutes? I understand we are running out of time. But I would first, not so that you'll allow me, but I'll first appreciate you for asking the question first about the cultural impediment. Because that reminded me of a story that I wrote in 2005 titled Adravada Ni Ishtam. That is, it's your wish later. So that story starts from 10th class, and well, it's kind of fictionalized with my life, where my mom tells me that, well, you completed your PhD, so why don't you do 1 more year of postdoc and then you can do whatever you want. So that's pretty much it. So I'm really glad you asked that question. But in the theme, according to the theme, I wanted to bring the audience's minds to a few things here. One, I request the industry, when they come to colleges, I'm Dr. Kiran with Vigyan Jyoti. I'm a teacher, also a clinician, so from that perspective first. So when recruiters come to colleges, they don't really tell where they are going to place the students or on what or why. So it's like going and buying vegetables. You don't really tell them whether you are making curry or sambar. You just buy them. You just pick the right ones and buy. If it is always that, then it won't help students make informed opinions. So I believe, I hope that the HR professionals will actually let institutions and students make informed opinions. There I also say there should be a little more trust from industry towards academia. In a lot of such panel discussions, with due respects to all the speakers, what I keep hearing is the education system is a failure, there is nothing happening there, it's all archaic. No, that's not the case. It's that industry also should trust education institutions. I'm glad Sujit sir was mentioning earlier that this is where things can happen. And as a proof of point, teachers have always been reskilling. With AI and such, well, there are a lot of teachers who are now teaching it. Well, I teach entrepreneurship now, though my degree is for engineering. So teachers have always been reskilling, and there's the point you made as answering to that gentleman. That probably the advantage for teachers is, well, whether I'm teaching electronics or whether I'm teaching entrepreneurship, I'm paid the same thing. So there is no salary gap. Like sir was mentioning, if 15 years of experience is not going waste. So that's probably there. So something must be done there. And I'll finish with a couple of points. One, like I said, the education industry, we are always talking about the industry-academia gap and trying to close the gap. Probably at some point I would even point that there must be a gap, because education is about building personality, personal growth for an individual. And now the industry is also not looking at skills, they are looking at the ethic of the people. That is what education is supposed to do. If we stop doing that and constantly teach them Java or Python or whatever comes into the market, who is going to actually help them build a personality that the industry needs? So I believe education must be doing that, and industry must be taking care of the skilling. And the final point I would make again for everyone to understand is also, we talk so much about design thinking, but unfortunately we don't really treat our students as users who are telling a problem, who are conveying problems. We don't really try to solve them. We just do what we want. Quoting a dialogue from a popular movie Bommarillu, you give me what I want, మీరు నాకు ఇస్తారు, అది బాగుందా అని చూస్తారు కానీ అది నాకు నచ్చిందా అని చూడరు. We constantly give students what we like them to do, not what they really want. So I believe if industry comes to sit with a dialogue with the education, a lot more upskilling can be done. Thank you.
Very good points, and I think these can extend after after the session because we are running. I'm extremely sorry to cut down on this thing for the questions.
It's just only a suggestion. I'll not get more than a minute.
Yes. Thank you, everyone.
It's always challenging.
We can take these questions and conversations off stage.
Only one suggestion I would like to give. I can see there's a big gap from enabling the internships for the colleges. Right? I can see while the industry is expecting a readily made material to be delivered to the industry, whereas the education institutions are training whatever trainings that they are giving. I can see a lot of students who are coming and asking for internships. If there is a mechanism that can be streamlined from the colleges to be incubated into the industry, that will be a great approach to take.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, definitely. And we'd love to, have these conversations off stage because the next panel discussion is, the panelists and are waiting for the stage. And over to Ramakrishna Garu.
So the